All right, joining me now, Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General and America First Policy Institute Law and Justice Co-Chair. Pam, great to see you, as always. Just a quick comment on today's decision by Judge Reinhardt. I don't think anybody was surprised. Do you read anything into it, Pam?
No, I don't think anyone was surprised, Larry. And, there's been a lot of pressure on Judge Reinhardt with good reason. He had recently recused himself on a case involving President Trump and Hillary Clinton because he couldn't be objective. And then all his statements on social media leaked out that he had disdain for President Trump. So now I think there's so much pressure on him. He's going to bend over backwards now, I think, to do it the right way. And if you think about this judge, Larry, he's sitting here hearing now. Look what he's hearing after he signed that warrant. He's hearing that they never did a motion to compel, that they had originally subpoenaed these documents. I want to know if in that warrant, if it says that they had agreed to lock the storage room. I wonder if he knew that. And I wonder if he knew that Merrick Garland, it's now come out that Merrick Garland had that warrant sitting on his desk for 2 weeks. So what are the exigent circumstances to get that warrant? So I think it's covering the judge, too, by releasing a lot of this information to see exactly what they put in that affidavit to get a search warrant on Mar-a-Lago, because that is a tremendous violation of someone's rights without really, really good cause. And I just don't see it here, given everything we've learned since the raid. And remember, the Trump family, they have the footage of that raid, them going through Melania's clothes. Larry, they seized President Trump's diplomatic passports. So I think it's going to be, and they had to return them, of course. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what's in that warrant, obviously, but I think it's going to be a big benefit to President Trump, of course.
I always wondered, this is very non-lawyerly stuff, Pam, but I always wondered, if this was so urgent, if there were national security, classified top secrets in this thing, why did they wait 20 months? I mean, I know they waited a week or two after they actually got this search warrant, but they could have started this, the second or third or fourth week, or at least by the middle of last year, and they didn't. So again, I suspect this is about politics. I also think, and again, I don't know anything. I don't know nothing here. But my suspicion is this is about keeping Trump off the ballot, whatever it takes to keep him off the ballot. Let me ask you this, Pam, real quick. How long is it going to take for the judge to examine? By Thursday, the Justice Department has to come in with their quote-unquote redacted affidavit. How long is it going to take Reinhardt, you think, to make up his mind what can stay in and what should be kept out?
Oh, I guarantee he's been going home every night with that warrant, going through it. Because remember, he signed it, he has it. He knows what's in it. He knows what's in it from start to finish. So he's going to be going through everything in advance. I don't think it's going to take him a long time. I think he wants to see what they feel shouldn't be in there. And Larry, what you said was very lawyerly, because that's the reason you get a warrant. Exigent circumstances, that you think evidence is going to be destroyed, or someone's going to commit a crime, or someone's going to steal something right away. They sat on this forever. So that was very lawyerly, and I think that's what may be troubling the judge right now, because I have a feeling he's learned a lot that he didn't know when he signed that initial warrant.
Well, I had a bunch of, I cannot tell a lie. I had a bunch of lawyers over for dinner Saturday night. So perhaps it was a
Happy late birthday.
Yes, thank you. 39 years old. Anyway, Pam Bondi, I want to step back a minute, and you're an ideal person to do this. They want to keep Trump off the ballot, okay, by hook or by crook, legal or not. Keep him on. But you know what? They want to keep Trump's policies off the ballot.
Right.
The tax cuts, the deregulation, the energy independence, the tremendous wage gains for ordinary folks who did much better under Trump than the top 1% did. And I would add to that, although I didn't have it in my riff, Pam, they want to keep border control off the ballot. They want to keep remain in Mexico off the ballot. They want to keep education choice and get rid of CRT and all that gender and sex nonsense. That's what's behind this. That's what's behind behind keeping Trump off the ballot. And I just, I want to put that out there because I think that's a very important part of this. Trump is not a socialist. Biden is. Biden wants to keep free enterprise capitalism off the ballot.
Yeah. Larry, Donald Trump is the single biggest threat to the Progressive Party in this country.
Yes.
And they know it. And it's his policies, Larry. And again, public safety now is a huge part of that. With all these cities being ransacked around the country, you said the border, absolutely. The drugs flowing into this country, the kids that are overdosing, everything President Trump did to stop that, and supporting our men and women in law enforcement. And they're trying to undo that. And we know that his policies will instantly be reinstated if he's back in office in 2024, and that scares the socialists to death.
I think it does. I think big government socialism is what they live and breathe in the Biden crowd. Yeah. They know that Trump is completely opposed to it. He's made some good speeches recently. You've heard them. I've heard them. He's on his way back. They don't want to see it. But, here's the thing, Pam Bondi. This is not a freedom administration. Almost every step of the way, this is a big government interventionist, regulatory administration. It's not an America First administration either. And I think their worst nightmare is to have Donald Trump come back and talk about the themes that got him elected in the first place and succeeded.
Absolutely. And at America First Policy Institute, that's what we're all doing, keeping those policies on the forefront, the great policies. We've fought wars to keep America a free country, and they're trying to turn us into a socialist country, and Donald Trump will not let that happen, and his policies will not let that happen, and that's what they are so fearful of in 2022, and more importantly, 2024.
I think you're right. It's been my hunch from nanosecond one, they'll go to any lengths to keep him from running again because of what he represents and what he put into place once and how it succeeded and how he'd come back and do it again even better the next time. Really, I think that's right. It's like the death of woke, and they won't let that happen. Anyway, Pam Bondi, thank you. Appreciate it very much, as always.